No.
Okay, so this one I find really funny because I had this argument with someone the other day. Is Spider-Man in the Morbius universe? The director finally explains. The answer here is that Hollywood is lazy and that they love multiverses because it allows them to do whatever they want without actually changing anything or hiring new people. They can just say, oh, it's part of the multiverse. It's kind of like time travel. You can kind of just say time travel exists, and then you just kind of have to go with it.
Yeah.
So it says, one of the biggest questions surrounding the upcoming Sony movie Morbius is whether, is whether or not Spider-Man will be part of the story. Early trailers suggested that the presence of Spider-Man in this world suggested the presence of Spider-Man in this world as when Jared Leto's Dr. Michael Morbius walked in front of a mural that featured Spider-Man and had the words murderer scrawled across it. I don't know if they're like, a lot of rumors were going around. The reason, because remember, Morbius was originally supposed to come out in like the first week of February.
Yep.
And they moved it, and I think the initial idea was that it was just done to that they wanted to reshoot some stuff because they didn't realize how big of a hit Spider-Man No Way Home would be. And they want to Sony's realizing they don't need Marvel the way that Marvel needs Spider-Man now, clearly. They thought they were going to reshoot some stuff and make it more Sony-centric. Perhaps Venom, perhaps not. We'll see what goes on with that. But also a big part of this could just be that they didn't want Morbius going head-to-head with a movie that was doing as well as it was, doing as well as Spider-Man was doing. Like I said, it was just in week 14 and still made $3 million. So it says it had the word murder scrawled across it. Fans also have been wondering online which Spider-Man would be in the Spidey the Spidey of the Morbius world, be it Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, or even Tobey Maguire. It would be really interesting if they decided to have him in there, have it be a different Spider-Man.
Right.
If they went with Tobey Maguire. I don't think they would.
Be now. It could be anything.
But maybe they go with Andrew Garfield and then roll that into finally giving him his third movie that people are pretending they always cared about, but they never actually did. All those people, I didn't care about it. I had no problem with either of his movies, but I didn't care that they didn't make another one. A lot of people are like, man, we always wanted a third Andrew Garfield movie. I'm like, nobody wanted.
No one said that.
No one, like literally, that's like in the list of things that have never actually been said in the world.
Yeah.
Maybe his mom said that, or his dad, or maybe like a producer that has a large amount of like money invested in it, but no actual fan said that. Sorry.
Someone's going to comment and say, I did say that. Brad.
I'm sure. Okay. People don't understand hyperbole. Yes. I'm not saying that no one actually said that. I'm being descriptive and graphic to be,
but I agree.
And hyperbolic to make a point.
No one said it.
When we recently, now, if somebody wants to give me that Jamie Foxx Electro solo movie, except for he's handsome the whole time rather than ugly like they made him in the movie,
Okay.
then you do that. I'm
That's
fine with that.
uglyism.
We're there.
No, he was handsome in Spider-Man No
That's
Way Home.
uglyism.
They're like, I was
Brad.
like, what did he get a makeover?
Yeah.
Why did he look like handsome ass
He's
Jamie
beautiful, yeah.
Foxx? Yeah. So there's, when we
contract.
won't
He's
be
like,
ugly.
I don't want to be blue anymore.
Come on, guys.
When we recently sat down with Morbius director Daniel Espinosa, we gave him the opportunity to clear up the confusion and simply asked him if the New York City that his Michael Morbius occupies already contains a Spider-Man, and he told us this. Of course. I mean, in almost all Spider-Verse, or the universes that existed in the Marvel universe, if you read the comics, the whole idea of that kind of the Marvel string theory, if you would call it that. It's very related to, if you remember, the alternative Seinfelds. You have a world where you have the same characters and it's all of the characters, but they're slightly different. So in almost all verses, you have Spider-Man or a Fantastic Four or Tony Stark or Morbius, but there will be different in tone. That's not quite the way the Marvel Cinematic Universe is approaching the idea, but they're remaining to some core truth. Then you have the second kind of legend, which is about the totem, which is that all universes there's a spider totem, which means that in all universes there has to be a Spider-Man or a Spider-Woman. This is one of the things I hate about it because I got in a discussion with it might have been Tim or somebody else, like they're going to bring Daredevil into the MCU and he'll be the same as Daredevil on Netflix. I'm like, no, he won't. He will be, at the very least, the tone will be different, but it will not be considered the same. It will not be the same Daredevil. It won't be the same Matt Murdock.
Right.
Whether that means that they don't get Foggy or they don't get. I mean, they did end up getting Wilson Fisk, but it's going to be slightly different. And with Disney, that means it's going to be slightly worse. That's my personal. That's my personal opinion. But I would almost rather like rather than I guess dilute a character that had as much screen presence as Matt Murdock as the Daredevil of Netflix had, don't try to recapture that magic, because I don't think it's possible.
Right.
Cast a new character, either do a new character or cast a new actor. As hard as that is, he's kind of synonymous with that character now. The way Robert Downey Jr. is with Iron Man, I don't think anybody wants anybody but Charlie Cox playing Daredevil. But I don't think that it's going to be the same, and people will inevitably be left kind of bummed, because Disney's not going to make something as brutal as Daredevil on Netflix. In the second episode, he beheads a dude with Wilson Fisk beheads a dude with a car door.
Really?
Like, they're not going to do that. I'm still shocked that they put it on Disney Plus. I really thought they were going to dump it on Hulu.
The plus is for decapitation.
Apparently.
Yeah.
So, like, with that much blood, that much violence, the themes around Jessica Jones being about power control, a lot of that correlates heavily to sexual abuse and things like that.
They're teaching kids how to be trained psychopaths.
Well,
perfect.
Perhaps. So it says, Morbius embracing the multiversal concept that was made popular in the Marvel comics before Spider-Man No Way Home, made it an official component of MCU's Spidey's existence. So they're talking more also about this is going to be more important with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which will officially be the bigger introduction to the multiverse for those characters. Though I believe that the multiverse was a concept first introduced by DC with the Flash before
in like the 40s.
Yes, before Marvel. That's like I said, I'm very much a normie, but I do believe that to be true. Says the Morbius trailer doesn't have to be Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, or anyone that we already know. It could be an alternate Spider-Man who patrols this version of New York City. I wouldn't be surprised if they use this opportunity to do Miles Morales. I don't think they will, but I would like if they. I have more faith in Sony doing a Miles Morales, and I know like people tend to have very strong feelings about that version of Spider-Man.
I didn't see that one.
You didn't see Into the Spider-Verse.
No, I heard that was awesome.
Yes,
it
I
is.
didn't watch it.
I love it.
Yeah.
But people tend to have very strong opinions about him being Spider-Man because it's not technically a race swap because it's a different character.
Right.
But it's people have that strong opinion about a character taking the mantle of another character. One of the biggest arguments that people always get in is like, is James Bond a code name? No, it is not a code name. That's an actual person with an actual name and an actual history.
Right.
So those changes mean more when you're changing an actual person's background as opposed to the name of a character. But it's like you're not going to make Clark Kent something different. Do Val Zod. So we'll see. We'll see where this goes. I'm kind of worried that all of this ends up becoming so watered down and so corporate and so repetitive in the sense that as much as we love Spider-Man No Way Home, you are risking things just becoming too much content too often. I do not look forward to...
I see this in two ways. That way, for sure. Like you can water this all down until it means nothing anymore. And it's all
that's
just
what it feels.
little
It's
commercials.
Like deaths in these movies. It's like it's not like death means anything in these actual movies.
Right.
In these
On
movies.
the flip side, it's like I love that this is all just a conversation about imagination. And it's like the multiverse is really just different imaginations colliding because all these different people have been at the helm of these franchises.
And maybe I take maybe mine is like a less imaginative approach. I'm looking for structure in a world where structure is less important.
Yeah. I guess it just depends on which one you want to subscribe to. Like I'm trying to be open to any of the universes surprising me, right? Like the Heath Ledger one and then Joaquin Phoenix. I didn't think anyone could outdo Heath Ledger, but I really liked Joaquin Phoenix as Joker. But it's interesting and it's fun for me to see all the play of the imagination. And the people have been having this conversation since the 40s and 50s, which is cool. This is nothing new.
This is, but this second article is why I find this also so funny. It says, J.K. Simmons has no idea how the Marvel and DC multiverses work. It's not his job to know. So
I thought it was adorable.
It's not his fault. It is not his job.
I can hear his voice.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
That's him doing Alex Jones on Spider-Man No Way Home.
I have no idea. I have no idea how the multiverse works. Damn you, Spider-Man. Jake, one of my favorite on all of the YouTube channels that I watch that involve comic books. There's a guy who goes around on an account called the Daily Bugle, and he calls out and he pretends to be J. Jonah Jameson, and he's calling for that darn Spider-Man to get cat. Yeah, it's really. I always look for his comments.
That's funny.
That evil Spider-Man, the Spider. He's like the topic could be like why this movie was bad. He's like, I don't know about the movie, but you know who is bad? The Spider-Menace, and he leaves that comment on like every video. So
That's hilarious.
J.K. Simmons has revealed that he has no clue or ideas as to how the concept of the multiverse is dealt with in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the DC Extended Universe movies. Simmons, who is an Academy Award winner, is one of those actors who have got the chance of playing significant roles in both DC and Marvel superhero adaptations. That is true. Both J. Jonah Jameson in multiple franchises and in all versions of Spider-Man. Or wait, was he in The Amazing Spider? I don't remember if he was in The Amazing Spider-Man. But there, and also James Gordon, who he's being brought back as Gordon for the Batgirl TV show. So there, this is one of the reasons why I find this whole thing hilarious, because the Restore the Snyderverse people who love Zack Snyder's vision are over in their pocket, and then DC's like, we're not doing it, and then they kind of do it, and then they don't do it anymore. Then they're making Batgirl, has nothing to do with the Spider-Verse. All the other characters are new, but they include this one, and it's just like, what? Nothing matters anymore.
Yeah.
We don't care.
The boardroom of that writer's room looks like Miracle's back.
Yes.
Drop. They're just like, just take that and use that, and
they like lines of cocaine from one character to the next.
Just blast that.
I love it.
And they're like, we have to have J.K. Simmons somewhere.
They're like, but sir, we're not doing any of the Zack Snyder movies. Like, it doesn't matter. Put him in there. We need him. Bringing back Michael Keaton to do Batgirl.
Yeah, and he's in Morbius, right? Didn't we
see
him?
He's playing. Yeah, because he was the Vulture.
Right.
And so he's in there. So he's having like his own weird renaissance.
Yeah.
Of character actors, something that he was actually quite against when he was in like
really
when he was young and superhero movies were not cool.
Yeah,
they'd be like advertising, and he's like, Batman.
That's funny.
You know, now everyone wants to be one of these characters, because not because they actually like the characters, but because they see it as a way to advance their career.
Yeah.
So Simmons has started his journey of superhero film appearances with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, wherein he played the Daily Bugle editor J. Jonah Jameson, appearing in all 3 films in Raimi's trilogy before the 4th film got sacked. Simmons became a fan favorite and was ultimately brought back to play the role. Yeah, so he wasn't in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. So I just thought this was funny, because I just imagine they're like explaining this to him, and his agent's like, "You're gonna play this character." He's like, "Is that how?" That doesn't fit there. And whatever.
Just read the lines.
Just read the lines. Cash the paycheck. That's all you need to do. So I do think that I do like that we take different approaches. That I'm looking for more structure. In these things, maybe because it makes me feel more connected to material where it's the concepts are ridiculous as it is.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for structure to help define. To make the movies make sense. The reason I love Nolan's movies is because they're not superhero movies. They're just crime dramas that happen to feature a man in a giant bat costume.
Right.
Though I still don't believe for a second that nobody died in any of those car crashes. You'll have to fight me on that.
I know. I watched
when they're like, Batman
night.
doesn't kill. I'm like, yeah, except for the whole vehicular manslaughter thing
last night. Like, he totally destroyed all those cops.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way. Whenever they're like, oh, Christian or Ben Affleck, Batfleck killed a bunch of people. I'm like, so did Bale. They just didn't talk.
So did Bale. Yeah. And then Bale goes to a party, his birthday party, and then Morgan Freeman's character is just like, I saw you. It's like they're all cool about it. Like, oh, cool. You killed all those cops.
Killed a bunch of police officers. Fantastic. Like, they just don't acknowledge it. They just it's like there's like I don't know if it's Cinema Sins or one of those channels does like a counter where they're like they tabulate injuries, like what would happen in Die Hard with funny. Every scene with Bruce Willis's character. They should have done that, like crushed roof of car. Clearly the person was impaled on the roof and their neck was broken.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
but it's family friendly. We don't show death that much unless it's a bad guy that's CGI to look like a black character. Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad, they had those like alien looking characters and they didn't want to say they're human, so they just made them CGI looking so kids and families would be okay with it, with like all of those killings and beheadings.
But they're technically creatures, right? So,
yeah.
Or a better example is in Batman Begins when he clearly just lets Ra's al Ghul He's like, he technically didn't save him.
He doesn't save him.
So
he's not going to kill you.
That's manslaughter.
I don't have to save you.
I think that's manslaughter. Maybe not. I don't know. But he should have at least, if he's like, okay, so he has a code, but does he really? Because he just let the dude go.
But in the beginning of that movie, he also says there's a very gray area between what's right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he also tried to buy a hotel with a check, and you can't buy a hotel with a
slip
check.
It in the waiter's pocket. Like
I was like, and the waiter does what with it?
Yeah.
He's like, I was like, I don't think that's how hotels get bought. But
when
I
he's
could be
flying
wrong.
home from first fighting Ra's al Ghul for the first time, and he's flying with Alfred. And he's telling him, like, I want to go back and fight. I was almost expecting Alfred to be like, well, they actually have a good politician now, and the city is totally fine.
That would have been great.
And then that's the end of the movie. That's it. Then it's just American Psycho.
Yes.
Right.
They're like, oh, we just we have a broken Windows policy, and we're doing stop and frisk on all the stop, question and frisk on all the criminals, and everything's been fine since then. It's like we have our own Rudy Giuliani in Gotham.
Oh, man.
That's what they do.
Oh, man.
We should just write our own stories and then pitch it to Hollywood and see if they actually pick it up.
The chances of that happening are exactly.
This is why I like the multiverse idea so much. Because in college I spent more time writing fan fiction for Marvel stuff than I did actually college stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because it was so much fun to just take a character and do whatever you want with it. You can take from this universe and that universe whatever you want. I think that's exciting. But it's like inflation though, where at a certain point you print so much of it, it'll mean nothing. So that is the bad part of it as well. And I do.
We are in superhero inflation right now.
We are,
and it's time to cut back.
It's because we as a society are feeling like we need to be saved by something.
We don't need to be saved by the Batman.
I want to be saved by a giant man with underwear on the outside.
I want Peacemaker to save us. I guess Henry Cavill, if Henry Cavill wants to come back.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.